This is lesson 12.5, surface area of prisms. A prism consists of two parallel congruent bases and a number of non-base faces or lateral faces. And we pretty much talked about this before. That's what makes up a prism, is that it has two sides that are called the bases, and then the other sides are called the lateral faces. So this word might actually be new, lateral. The lateral area of a figure is exactly what it sounds like. It's the sum of the areas of the lateral faces. The surface area of a figure is the total area of all the faces. So that's the lateral area plus the area of the bases. To find the lateral area L of a prism with height h and base with perimeter p, use the formula L equals ph. So the lateral area is equal to the perimeter of the base times the height. To find the surface area S of a prism with a lateral area L and base area B, use the formula S equals L plus 2B. So surface area is equal to lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base. And this should make sense since there are two congruent bases. This can also be written as S equals pH plus 2B, or surface area is perimeter of the base times the height plus 2 times the area of the base. Now these two formulas are very similar, and you see that the only difference here is that L has been replaced with pH, which makes sense because L is equal to pH. Now why would you use one formula versus another? Well, this first one would be very useful if you had a problem similar to what we'll see in example 1, where you have to first find the lateral area and then find the surface area. So something where you actually need to find both. In that case, you will have already found L, so there would be no reason to do perimeter times the height twice. However, let's say you're dealing with a problem where you don't really care about the lateral area, you just want to know the total surface area. Then you'd probably use this formula, so you're skipping that second step. You don't have to do these separately if you just use this formula. So that's really the big difference between those two. Note that it is absolutely critical that you first identify the figure and then identify the base. This will be important for all of the other shapes that we'll find surface area of, not just prisms, but cylinders, cones, pyramids. It'll be important that you first identify what figure you have and then identify which side is the base. This will determine which face you are going to use for P and B, the perimeter of the base and the area of the base, as well as determine which length is h, the height of the whole figure. So it's very important that we do that first. And you'll actually see as I work through these examples, before I set up any formulas or anything, that's what I will do first every single time, is determine what figure it is, determine where the base is, and I'll even find the perimeter of the base and the area of the base first, as well as identify what the height is. So that way when we go to these formulas, we're just plugging in numbers. Most of the work has already been done. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like on example 1. Okay, so this says to find the lateral area and surface area of each figure. So for this first one, I see that this is a rectangular prism. Now, we have to be consistent on what face we're going to use as the base, because for a rectangular prism, just like we talked about with the actual solids in class, if you turn the figure differently, a different side could be used as the base. Now that won't affect the total surface area, but it certainly will affect what you get for the lateral area, because it's a difference of whether you're talking about the sides versus if you're talking about maybe this direction where the front and the back would be considered the bases. Those will give you two completely different lateral areas. So for the sake of consistency, when dealing with a rectangular prism, let's call the base the bottom. So this right here is what we're going to call the base. Okay, now the other base is this one up here that's congruent to it. And remember, to find the height, you want to find the length that is the distance between those two bases. So it's not this, and it's not this, it's this distance. This is h. Okay, so now let's go ahead and find the perimeter of the base. Well, this is just a rectangle, so I can use the formula for area of a rectangle and do 2L plus 2W, or I could just add up all four sides. Either way, you should get a perimeter of 15.8 feet. And again, that's either 2 times 2.1 plus 2 times 5.8, Or you could have just added 2.1 plus 5.8 plus 2.1 plus 5.8. Let's also find the area of the base, since we'll need that as well. Well, it's a rectangle, so we'll just do length times width, 2.1 times 5.8. And you should get 12.18 square feet. Okay, now we're ready to actually use our formulas for lateral area and surface area. So let's start with lateral area. The formula says L equals PH. Lateral area is equal to the perimeter of the base times the height. Well, we now know the perimeter of the base is 15.8 feet, and the height is 2.8 feet. So let's just substitute those. And now all that's left to do here is multiply. 15.8 times 2.8, we should get a lateral area of 44.24 square feet. And surface area, since it's just the sum of the areas of the surfaces, area is in square units, so surface area will also be in square units. Even though it is a three-dimensional figure, you're talking about the area of the surfaces, and the surfaces are flat. So that will still be square units. Alright, let's find the total surface area for this figure. Now, since we already have the lateral area, we want to use the formula that just says S equals L plus 2B. Because we already found L, there's no need to do that again. Okay, so to replace L, we'll use 44.24. And then 2 times the area of the base that we found already. So 2 times 12.18. Okay, so this is 44.24 plus 2 times 12.18 is 24.36. And then when we add these two together, it's our last step, we should get 68.6 square feet. Okay. Let's do the same sort of thing with example B. Again, the first thing we want to do before we start using any formulas is identify what the figure is and identify which side is the base. So here I see 2 triangles, and the rest of the sides are rectangles, which means that those triangles have to be the bases. And remember, the height of the prism is always the distance from one base to the other. So it's not 4. 4 is the height of the triangle. It's actually going to be 7, because that's how far apart this base is from this one. So this is H. Okay. Perimeter of the base. So we have a triangle here. And we know that this side is 6. We know that this side is the same as this side. So, or actually I guess this side. These two have the same length. So if this is 5, this is also 5. Same with this side back here. If this side is 5, then this side is also 5. So 6 plus 5 plus 5 will give us the perimeter of the base, and that is 16 feet. Now let's find the area of the base. So remember, this is a triangle, so we want to do 1/2 base times height. The base of the triangle is 6, and the height of the triangle is 4. So 0.5 times 6 times 4. And that should give you 12 square feet. Okay, so now we have P, we have B, we have H. We're ready to start using some formulas. So lateral area, we just have L equals PH, and we know what to substitute here. P is 16, H is 7. And then 16 times 7 to get the lateral area is 112 square feet. Okay, for surface area, again, since we've already found the lateral area, we'll use the same formula again, S equals L plus 2B. Okay, so we know what L is. L is 112. And then plus 2 times the area of the base, which we found was 12. Okay, so we have 112 plus 2 times 12, which is 24. And when we add those together, we get a total surface area of 136 square feet. Okay. So on the next page, there are two try-it-yourself problems. They're very similar. So go ahead and pause the video, work through those two problems. I highly suggest that you do exactly what I did and first figure out where the base is, find the perimeter and the area of the base, and also identify which side is the height. That way when you go to plug numbers in the formula, it will come out very, very easy because you'll already know what to put where. So go ahead and pause the video, work through those two problems. When you're ready to check your answers, press play. Okay, for the first one, you should have gotten a lateral area of 980 square inches and a surface area of 1,552 square inches. For part B, the lateral area is 131.1 and the surface area is 146.46. Okay, let's look at one more example. This says the walls of the school gym are being repainted. The gym is 50 feet long, 25 feet wide, and 16 feet high. Each wall will receive 2 coats of paint. If 1 gallon of paint covers 400 square feet, how many gallons are required? Okay, so it might help to actually draw a picture of the gym first. So we have a room that looks something like this. It's 50 feet long, 25 feet wide, and 16 feet high. Each wall will receive 2 coats of paint, so we need to make sure that we factor this in later. In order to figure out how many gallons, we're going to need to know how many square feet we need to cover. So keep in mind here, only the walls of the school gym are being repainted. So we're not painting the ceiling, we're certainly not painting the floor. We only want to paint the walls. So here, we're not going to find surface area, we're just going to find lateral area because those are the only surfaces that we actually want to paint. So if we're talking about the lateral area being the walls, then this at the bottom will be the base. Okay. And since we only want lateral area, we don't have to find the area of the base. We only need to find the perimeter of the base. And the perimeter is, again, just like we did on the previous one with a rectangular prism, you can add the 4 sides together, or you can use the formula P equals 2L plus 2W. So however you find the perimeter of that base, you should end up with 150 feet. And again, make sure you also identify where the height is. So if these are the length and width of the base, this number is the height. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the lateral area. So our formula is L equals PH. We know that P is 150. And H is 16. And then when we multiply 150 times 16, we get 2,400 square feet. Okay, well this is the amount of area that's on those 4 walls. Each of the walls will receive 2 coats of paint. So we're not painting this much area, we're painting twice that much area. So I want 2 times 2400 is 4800 square feet. So this now is how much space we're actually trying to paint. Now 1 gallon covers 400 square feet, so I want to group this or separate this into groups of 400 so that I know how many gallons I need. So we're just going to divide 4800 by 400 to get 12. And since this is asking how many gallons are required, I would say 12 gallons. Okay. There's a try it yourself problem at the bottom that is very similar. Again, make sure you first identify which side is the base and find the perimeter and height as well as the area of the base before you try to do anything with the formula. So go ahead and pause the video for this one and solve that problem, and then when you're ready to check your answers, press play. Okay, this question asks, how many bottles of spray does Kayla need? Well, you should have come up with 4 bottles.